There was a time in my life when I thought I had it all figured out. I was 26, fresh out of grad school, and had just landed what most people would consider a dream job, a junior executive role at a rising tech startup in San Francisco. The office was sleek, the coffee was free, and every day felt like a high-stakes mission. I wore my ambition like a tailored suit. My parents beamed with pride. My friends envied me. I told myself I was winning. But inside, I was terrified. Terrified that I wasn't good enough, that I was just pretending. That at any moment, someone would find out I wasn't as smart or capable as I looked on paper. Still, I pushed on, worked late nights, skipped meals, smiled through the stress. I thought burning out was a badge of honor. Then came the product launch. It was my first major assignment, leading the marketing strategy for a new AI-based productivity tool. The CEO handed it to me with a confident pat on the back. "You're the future of this company," he said. I was flattered. I was also completely unprepared. For months, I poured everything into that project. Late-night meetings, endless revisions, data points, metrics, focus groups. I lived and breathed that product. I ignored the signs, the red flags, the gut feeling that maybe we were over-promising. Maybe the product wasn't ready. Maybe I wasn't ready. But I silenced the doubt. And then we launched. Within 48 hours, everything unraveled. The app crashed. Users were locked out. The data was buggy. Negative reviews flooded in. Industry blogs labeled it overhyped garbage. The backlash was swift and brutal. And the blame? It landed squarely on me. "You should have caught this. What were you thinking with that campaign? This is unacceptable." The CEO didn't even look me in the eye. The same man who'd called me the future now couldn't remember my name. I was fired by the end of the week. Just like that, my dream job became a nightmare. My career, it seemed, was over before it had truly begun. I remember sitting on the floor of my apartment, surrounded by empty coffee cups and job rejection emails, wondering how everything had fallen apart so quickly. I avoided my parents' calls. I ignored my friends. I felt humiliated, worthless. For weeks, I couldn't get out of bed. But rock bottom has a strange way of clearing the fog. One night, I found myself reading through the angry user reviews again. Not to torture myself, though it felt like that at first, but to understand, to really listen. And then I saw it. Buried in the frustration were valid points. Concerns I had raised in meetings but let go of to keep up appearances. Problems I had ignored because I didn't want to seem difficult. I had known. Deep down, I had known. I had failed. Not just at my job, but at speaking up, at trusting myself, at being honest. And suddenly, I wasn't angry anymore. I was awake. I started writing. Not resumes, not cover letters, but reflections. Honest breakdowns of what went wrong, what I learned, what I do differently. I posted some of it online. Quietly, anonymously at first. And people started responding. First a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Messages from burned-out workers, disillusioned interns, former executives, people who had failed spectacularly and survived, people who were failing right now and needed to know it wouldn't last forever. That's when the idea came. What if failure wasn't the end? What if it was a beginning? I started a blog called Fail Forward, a place for real stories of failure, not the sugar-coated kind, but raw, messy, honest accounts of what it means to fall hard and get back up. I featured others. I interviewed strangers. I told my story in full for the first time, name and all. And the response was overwhelming. Within a year, the blog had thousands of followers. I was invited to speak at small events, then bigger ones, podcasts, panels. Suddenly, I wasn't just talking about failure, I was redefining it. People started asking me to consult, to teach their teams how to fail better, how to embrace mistakes, how to build resilience. That's when I realized, I hadn't failed at all. Losing that job, as painful as it was, had forced me to confront the truth. It showed me who I really was. Not the polished executive, not the resume, but the human being underneath. The one who cared deeply. The one who wasn't afraid to be vulnerable anymore. Years later, I still get emails from people who say my story saved them, helped them quit a toxic job, gave them permission to speak up, reminded them they weren't alone. I still think about that launch day sometimes. The chaos, the shame, the crash. But now I smile, because what I thought was a failure was actually my greatest lesson, and the beginning of everything.